because we did a little bit of electrical and electronics in high school, so the thing is, the approach the questions in this course is actually different. Like back in high school, we just remember that in series the current is same for cross resistors, and whereas in parallel the series is a sum. But whereas here we are exposed to things like the Ohm's law, the current law and the voltage law, where the sum of the currents and sum of the voltages and things like that. So it's a different approach to the high school, what we learn in high school. But I would say that the things that they expose us, the laws that they teach us in this course is actually more general and it's more applicable. Yes.
When I started attending this course, I had some friends who did it the previous summer, and they said it was quite easy. You don't really have to study very hard for it. But it turns out that it wasn't as easy as expected. So it was really a challenge because you have such a mindset going into the course, and then seeing the stuff and the contents, and you realize, wow, it's not as same as what they say. So that was also another challenge that I faced. Yeah.
They are really different. In the case of Dr. Sabin Aleri, the way he teaches is that he goes through the content briefly and quickly with you, and then he goes through questions in the lecture with you, so that he actually allows you to practice on the spot. So, whereas the other one, Dr. Jayashree, she actually explains in depth with you, but she doesn't really give you time to do the questions yourself. So in a way, it's good in that she really explained in depth to you, but it sort of discourages participation from the students because the students don't actually do the questions on the spot. But yeah.
The two main sources of help that we got from was the lecturer himself and also from the tutorials. So the tutorials they help in the sense that they help us through the tutorials. So the questions that arises from that, we can ask the tutors. And for questions regarding the lectures, both lecturers are very good in helping the students. They explain quite well. So that was a very nice thing to have. Was totally different from what we expected because we had the lecturer posted a sample question, so it was of a totally different level compared to the midterm. I would say so. Like what the lecturer said, we need to do a lot of practices.
I believe the lecturer essentially used his lecture note questions as the questions that were into the mid-session. His notes were sort of harder than the stuff that was found in the past mid-sessions and tutorials. Also, he doesn't post any solutions of its own.
And also the time constraints in the mid-session. It seemed like the number of questions that we had to do was similar to the amount we had to do in the final exam. It's like I think the final exam has 5, but ours, the mid-session had only 4. But it's like each question had like subsections, and each subsection was also of a higher level of difficulty, which requires students to put in more time to try to figure out what's actually going on with the problem.
I also find the time management for the exam a little bit, for this research, a little hard. Some of the questions I was able to do, but I just simply didn't have enough time to do it.
Not all students can have not all students can understand completely because students are all diverse, the levels of understanding that they have. So the way I would suggest the lecturer to set the mid-session exam is to have different levels of difficulty in terms of the questions, so that students who do not understand them even though they do not understand them well, they can at least do some questions so they do not do that badly in the mid-session exam. Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
I first referred to the 1 mark for electrical engineering, so I sort of looked through the content, and after the midterm, I realized that the lecturer is taking questions from the recommended one, the first kind of textbook. So I went through and had a look at the contents. It was much more detailed, much towards the theory side, and I could find that I found that it was in a way better than the other one, in like explaining things.
I think that you have to know what the lecturer thinks. So if you know that the lecturer is actually going to base most of his questions from the textbook, then of course you should refer to the textbook. So you have to inquire to the lecturer beforehand, before you start studying. Because how the lecturer approaches the course and how the lecturer expects the student to understand the course is the students really have to know how the lecturer thinks from the lecturer's perspective. So, for example, if the lecturer thinks that the students will have to refer to the textbook more to understand what he's actually trying to say, how he actually teaches in the lecture, then the student should of course approach the textbook. But sometimes the lecturer may not really refer to the textbook that much. Maybe the lecturer may give enough information in the lecture notes such that it is comprehensive enough. Then the students may not need to refer to the textbook that much. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the students have to ask the lecturers beforehand.
I still think that for me, the most important thing on trying to master something new, a new concept or something, is to try and understand it in your own way. So like, if you can really grasp the core, the gist of what the concept is, then when you are presented with problems, I'm sure that you can figure a way out to solve them, because you understand the concept. Then all those problems it's just an applying of the concept. So understanding the topic is the most important thing to do, rather than trying to like do a lot of exercises. That might help a little, but it's much better to understand it before you try all those questions. I think. Yeah. I think if you you spend some time on it and then you come back later, yeah, that can work out pretty well, because it's not really that intense. Like, if it's really intense, you just have to keep up everything. But this is just moderate, good enough. So if you sort of lag behind like a few lectures, you can still catch up at the end.
I found not being able to receive your lab report after it's been marked is a little bit annoying, because you can't have any feedback when you do your lab reports.
To add to what he said earlier, so I would advise the students to not be sort of like, to know your rights. So if you meet a bad tutor, because him and I, we are in the same lab, so we have the same bad tutor. So what I would advise the future students is to know their own rights, and whenever they have any doubts, just ask the tutor. Do not be shy, because they have the right to ask the tutors. The tutors are there to help the students. And when the tutors are not doing their job, you have the right to complain. So yeah, just that's the advice for the future students.
Yeah, and also like, if you're a new student, the first time you enter that, don't be afraid to try out the things there. Yeah, because once you get the hang of it, you'll be comfortable with all the stuff. And for me, like the first week there, I wasn't sure how these things work, how the machine or how the equipment should be handled in a way. But slowly you'll learn, and once you're used to it, then all things will be easy for you, I think. Yeah.